Hey, what's up? It's Alex from Dark Monkey Balls coming at you with another podcast type video. This time more of an educational video. So no boobies, go ahead and tune out, log off, watch porn, do whatever it is you guys do. I'll give you a second here. Okay, so they should be on Japanese midget porn by now, but for the rest of us, I just wanted to cover a couple random things here that I've seemed to notice. Specifically with like the ball python genre of genetics and things. Just to clarify a few kind of confusing points that breeders have put on a couple morphs here and there, and the way they label things might be confusing to folks that aren't familiar with genetics and how they work. I mean, it's pretty simple. Pretty much, there's a couple main things. You have dominant morphs, codominant morphs, and recessive morphs. And you use the term usually dominant, codom, or recessive, or het. Heterozygous is a recessive thing. Both parents need to carry the allele for the trait that you want to produce in order to breed it out. So let's say you have a normal snake that's 100% heterozygous. That means it carries the allele. Breed two of those together, you have a 1 in 4 shot or a 25% chance per egg of producing the visual snake. So awesome. But it gets confusing because they label things as het that are actually codominant, and there's a difference. Now, while you can take two codominant snakes, like two pastels, and breed it together and have a 1 in 4 shot of getting a super pastel, it's a little bit different. You can't take a het albino and breed it to a pastel and have a different morph. You'll have pastels and normals and stuff that are 50% het for albino, which means you have a 50% shot of that snake being het, which means you don't really know what the fuck it is. So you can take codominant snakes and breed them to normals or other codominant snakes, and it's going to have an effect on the outcome. A pastel and a spider breeds a bumblebee, but a het albino and a spider doesn't really breed anything. And where the confusion, I think, comes in with certain things is like you might label a snake a het ivory, or some people label things, the new thing, or not the new thing, but the most common thing I see is het red axanthic, which is actually a codominant trait. It's not really a recessive trait, which is really confusing because there's also axanthic, which is a recessive trait where both parents need to carry the gene to breed it out. Axanthic simply means it's missing the yellow pigment in the snake, and het red axanthic, when you breed them together, it's a snake that comes out silver and black, and red axanthic missing the red pigment. But it's not heterozygous. The thing is, a red axanthic snake is a dominant trait when you breed it together. You take the two het red axanthics and breed them together. You have a 1 in 4 shot of producing the visual. But sounds confusing. It's actually codominant. So if you took a het red axanthic and bred it to a cinnamon, you get the gargoyle. If you breed it to other things, you get combinations. So it's a codominant trait, not a recessive trait. And that just kind of comes from people really like not knowing what to call it, because a het red axanthic looks pretty normal. It's got like some kind of cinnamon-esque patterns to it, but it looks normal for the most part. Kind of like a mystic or a specter. What else? The specials. There's these different snakes, lemons, that all look normal for the most part, but they're actually codominant traits, and they have effects on morph combinations when you look at them. Except this het red axanthic didn't get any fancy name. They just called it that, and now that's kind of what it is. So when I see that, it's just a little confusing for some folks. If you're not well versed in genetics or morphs, you might be confused as to what that is. But same thing. Like het ivory is a yellow belly, and yellow belly has effects on other morphs when you combo them into things. You get yellow belly spiders and all sorts of stuff. So that's pretty much it on that. Just kind of be aware of what the morphs are. It's kind of interesting. As breeders imported stuff, they were naming them. Albino is obvious because that's what the trait is. That's albinism. It's missing all the pigment. But you get things like cinnamons and pastels, and you can kind of figure out where the names come from. Pastel, refers to art or whatever the hell, and all that other good stuff. Spider ball python was originally the spider web ball python, etc., etc. Brian's got his pinstripe, which his friend named, blah, blah, blah. There's all sorts of videos and stuff that you can look up and see where these names came from. And one thing I want to touch on in regards to importing and how these guys get their snakes is kind of the difference between like line breeding and like, what's the term here? Selective breeding, line breeding, those kinds of things. You know, it's not the most dangerous thing in the world to line breed a snake. You just have to be aware of what the genetics are in morphs and possible genetic defects. A lot of people like to line breed things and hopefully get, you know, newer or brighter colors and stuff like that out. And basically what you do is you take the eggs, or you take the babies out of a clutch, you hold a couple back that look really nice, and you keep breeding that way. You might breed them back to the parents and see if the colors come out brighter, or, you know, you get the desired pattern you want to do or want to get. And that's kind of how it goes, and people do that and they label it like their personal line of this snake. And you know, you might charge more for whatever because of the name brand or the way it looks, and that's all well and good, but at the end of the day, some of those things combo different and some of them don't. I see line bred Mojaves that fade out and look like shit as adults, but they look pretty as babies, and they get sold for double the price. And that's, you know, that's good if you want to make your money like that, and you take the time to breed it that way. That's cool. It's a lot of work and stuff, and you get the desired product. But for a pet owner or a breeder that, you know, maybe new, it's not necessarily a waste of the money, but it's kind of a misspending of the money, I would say. You know, you just got to be aware of these things. And, you know, these morphs, they occur naturally in the wild, and you can, I guess, technically have your own line of some morph if it comes imported out and it's a new genetic line. It's more just confusing terminology for stuff. Lots and lots of stuff. And that's the fun thing with ball pythons. There's so many freaking color morphs and mutations that come out, and there's always new ones coming out every year. And it's just crazy stuff to stay on top of, you know. One thing I hear, people, they don't like them because there's so many morphs, and they feel as though if they want to breed them, they're always going to be behind the times. And I just want to encourage you to not think that way. If you have a little creativity and some understanding of how morphs work, you can go out there and get a few select animals and combo them well and produce new stuff. There's always new combinations coming out. And just don't try and just follow in the footsteps of what other people have done. Try to think creatively and do your own thing, and eventually, or, you know, within 1 or 2 seasons, you might produce a new combination that's not out there yet. It's not that difficult because they certainly haven't all been made. So there's my ramblings for the morning. Nice and boring, all that good stuff. Hopefully you learned nothing and were watching porn the whole time. Thank you. Goodbye.